Welcome to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado. These are conversations with women who are building meaningful careers, stepping into leadership, and designing life on their own.
Some of the most important roles in technology are the ones you almost never hear about. And I will tell you, it's not because they're small, but because they're doing really good, right? They're doing something right. Everything just works. And so now today's conversation is going to be, yes, how you operate in this space. We're going to get to know you. And I know that you are in the development operation engineering, specializing in CI and CD. And you're part of the layer that connects development to deployment, where speed, stability, and precision, all of them exist in the same time. And you have a very powerful role. I know it requires a lot of foresight, system thinking, the ability to anticipate problems. So I think today I want to explore that, but also I want to explore who is Sonal, what drives Sonal, and what actually means to you to build systems to scale and also live a fulfilled life. So Sonal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jen. I am really honored to be here. This is amazing. Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm honored that you are with us. It's so great to have you on the show. I know a lot of women will find your story very inspirational and something to look for. But can you please tell us, because probably, our audience is not familiar with you yet, but tell us exactly what you do.
So currently I'm working as a senior DevOps engineer on a contract role with Verizon. I work without sharing too much information based on the company, but I do work on their automation side. So they have how do I explain as an infrastructure when you have anything online or even calls? The way you handle calls is you have multiple sites. That's how, and in the background, we have infrastructure to be able to support that, multiple calls, to route the traffic. So how do I explain it? Like if you go into the building, there are multiple sections. So to go there, you have to take the elevator, but now you have to go to the other building. So you have to take this elevator and then get on that floor and get onto the other elevator. So what I work on is actually designing that, working on automating that. So it becomes almost self-sufficient to reduce the number of downtimes. I think one of my most exciting work was like when I started working with EA Sports, my previous role. So how I explain that is like, okay, I'm making sure you can play the game online. So there are game designers, there are network engineers, there are system engineers, and I am part of system engineers too. So what I do is make sure that every time if there's like a congested, so for example, I'm also a traffic police or like your traffic officer is like, okay, it's the congestion is going on. I make sure I divert the traffic to the most available route. So something like that is like a lot of things we do. We do automation, we do design infrastructure, but it's mostly behind the scenes because whatever we are doing is like you cannot see that internal map. But yeah, that's what we work on. I'm sorry if I went on a rant, but yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, that's part of being an engineer, right? We love what we do. And I think I think I'm going to translate this for people who says, oh my God, that sounds very complicated. Yes, there's a lot of coding and communication that happens, but think of it this way, as you will say, think it like a vein or traffic where you are heading somewhere. And there's going to be multiple factors that make you take different routes. And you are the person that work with the team to connect all of those routes to always find the most optimized, reliable way to make it there at the fastest time. Did I get that right?
Yes. And honestly, I was a hardware engineer and I still sometimes get scared of coding because that word was a buzzword when I was studying undergrad back in India. But trust me, I mean, especially in DevOps engineer, you have coding, but it's not like algorithm coding. So you can do it. But the best way to describe what I really like is, okay, this is a problem, and then I have to solve it. And if you can actually do that, all you need is logic. And then especially with nowadays, everything you can actually check online and do it. Believe me, not trying to put myself down, but this is what I thought that I'd never be able to do it. But now I actually do it on a daily basis and so quick. And I'm not saying it because like, oh, I can do it, but I've been there. So it's just like you're solving the problem, like you mentioned, explain, like you're just directing the traffic, routing, creating the best traffic route. As long as you want to do that, it's you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, engineering, systems, coding, hardware, software problems, it's a way of thinking.
Yeah,
And and that's something that you just learn more and more and become better at finding different routes that make it faster there, especially with your experience and going through that
yeah,
process. So I always tell people, being from an engineering background too, engineers think of it this way. We have a different way of thinking problems that allow us to find efficient and effective ways to solve the problem.
yeah,
And when you start getting access to other heads like that are outside of the engineering world, that's when it becomes powerful. Because if you can
yeah.
understand what is that they need, we can deliver those things in the best way when you're listening. So what
Yes.
you do is amazing. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
yes. So now, how do you pick up this line of work?
Um, so as a background, you can do systems engineering. It's very, I know it's a little different. So I did my undergrad back in India in electronics engineering, which was more hardware focused, but you can get into computer systems engineering and even electrical or any science degree. And then after that, I did my master's. I moved here for my master's at UFH for my network engineering. But you don't have to go through all that. But even if you do like undergrad bachelor's degree in computer engineering or systems engineering or IT, and then you get into it, especially like infrastructure. Obviously, you have to start as a systems engineer or like a system admin. So where you start working in data center. So you actually get the feel of how actual data center works, or you get the grunt work, what you're doing it before, because before automating, you need to know the system. Obviously, the course material and everything might have changed because I finished my undergrad back in 2011, which is, oh my God, 15 years ago. So it might have changed and you might learn all of these things. But most of my work has, so one fact is like I have ADHD. So for me, it's really hard to learn something new. But I only got diagnosed in my, I mean, 5 years or sorry, 3, 4 years ago. But anyway, so for me, it's really hard to do something if there's like no end goal attached. So I always pick up a project. I was like, okay, I have to finish this something. I have to solve this problem because being an ADHD, you struggle with get that, natural dopamine and it's really hard. So that's how I do it. I'm like, okay, what is the problem I'm solving? And then I divide it, and that's how I'm learning it. So how I take system engineering initially for me, also seemed complicated, but you start with dividing. I remember. I know it might be too much information, but I'll try. I know my ADHD is taking into effect, but my undergrad friend when I moved here, I was doing internship in his company or like where he was working. He explained me the systems, how different layers are. So you really dumb it down. I hate that word, but dumb it down is just like simplifying it. Even for example, so that's how I actually, one of my really good friends, she's from Brazil. I was explaining it to her what I do. And that's when I actually reignited because I was laid off. And I was like thinking, do I really want to go back? That kind of reignited my passion into, okay, I want to work into systems. Anyway, so that's how I came up with the analogy of like, you are in the lift and elevator and directing the traffic. So you can either start as completely cloud infrastructure or also as a network engineer. That's what I did. Both actually take you to this route eventually, like as a systems DevOps engineer. And their system admin is a role, like a lot of them are like still looking. It's like really important in security professionals. So you start there and then eventually you learn on the job. And the more you learn, more you're open to learning and doing multiple things because my success is also because when I joined EA, the team was really new. They had not defined anything, which worked. which worked in my favor because I actually worked with so many different teams that helped elevate my confidence because of I'm from India and this was the first time working with like US company and so many teams that I got to learn so much. And then eventually I could move to EA Sports within EA to a DevOps role. Anyway, so that's how like it's very different approach, but you can start with any engineering degree and then eventually as long as it's like math and science and then eventually you can start learning on the job and then get some system admin courses and there you can actually start and honestly to really move up in the role it's important you get the work experience. Usually it's not something you can learn without a job if it makes sense because you get to learn the infrastructure when you're inside it.
Awesome. I mean, I know there's a lot of to unpack here, and I'm going to jump into it, Sonal, because
Yeah.
beyond all the challenges on getting into a career of a network that requires so much to manage so much data, to manage understanding so many systems, you also overcame many challenges. So we're going to dig into that, right? The first challenge is one, yes, you decide to do all of these great things with engineering and all of that. Was there a reason why you got inspired to do engineering specifically? Did someone inspire you? Do you saw women? Do you saw someone else that says, I want to try that?
um so in a lot of I actually belong to a family back in India. Everyone in my family, like my, okay, I know my brain is like, okay, don't say this, but don't say that. That's like, I talk about my ADHD a lot because it affects me. But the point is, I grew up in a family where mostly everyone just gets married by the age of 25, and all. So we lived in a really joint family. Four of my dad's brothers, their wives, and all of the cousins. We lived together. We grew up together, and only my mom was working, and my dad has always been sick. So she was like the main person. Like, so I would say it was like she was the inspiration. Um, and the hard work she did, what she went through with the in-laws and everything, and so she was the inspiration, definitely. My mom is a doctor back in India, so a lot of people really wanted me to get into that too. I saw that my mom was like working really hard, and because she was working back in India, she wasn't earning it that much, and still supporting us. And that stress, I was like, I don't think I can do that. My mom is really strong, so I decided I'm not going into the biology degree, biology. And then I really loved mathematics and physics at that time. So I wanted to see, to be honest, like still as an undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then I got into electronics because I loved hardware. Um, Honestly, but still it says that it sounds like, oh, I really got it, I knew this is what I wanted to do. No, because I was like still holding myself so back, even though my mom always inspired, but I was surrounded and I grew up around people that being a woman, you actually, okay, that you do engineering, but then beyond that you only do it so you get married, you get the good spouse. But this was not my mom's goal, but everyone else, and that's what it was in my head too. So I think some or the other way I was just maybe trying to run away from the things, and that's why I started doing engineering. But when I got into hardware engineering, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I explore this more? Um, and that's how I got into it. I was working with as a hardware sales engineer, so I was working with like a lot of different clients, and that's how I got into it. But my biggest inspiration was my mom. Um, and it has changed over the time, definitely. I wanted to be like my mom. Then now I'm like, I really want to be strong and make sure, be strong, but at the same time, push back. And a lot of my mom is, I think she's like way more confident than me, way more strong, but she's also really amazing. Even if you're like, you rub her the wrong way, she'll still help you. So in some ways, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be like so strong and so financially independent that no one can actually do that with me. Uh, so I think that's how it started. And over the years, it has definitely changed. But long story short, I know it gave a long answer, but my mom, yeah.
I love it. No, let's summarize this because I think you unpack so many things there, Sonal. So you come from a traditional home where your dad is sick and your mom take the role of the bread earner, right? You
Yeah.
see this example, you see that she's strong, she starts establishing boundaries, but then you say, you know what? I see this and I know I don't want this. Let me
Yeah.
try this other thing. And that
Mm.
action right there encouraged you to try new things, to allow you to be curious, to explore. And once you start exploring, regardless everything, then Sonala start discovering what she loves. And
Yeah.
that right, they take a lot of courage and discipline, and you're going against the traditional way, finding your own way. So let's
Yeah.
honor that because I love it, right?
Yeah.
And then as
Thank
we're
you.
going through this, now you're also find, hey, I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's challenging me, and I want to do all of these great things, but there's something in the way. And
Mm-hmm.
restfully, so now find out, hey, I am dealing with something on my brain that they call it ADHD, which is very
Yeah.
challenging, right? And sometimes I love Dr. Daniel G. Amen. He's amazing when it comes to ADHD. I read a lot because there's times when I have my anxiety that kicks out, my brain is start going everywhere. And what I
Yeah.
this is understanding and being aware gave me a power
Yeah.
to at least lead it. So
Yeah.
tell us about what kind of things um, Sonal has done in her line of work. And I think this is going to be very helpful for a lot of high performance, successful women. How do you handle the situation when you're aware, oh, I have this situation that I have to deal with, brain, physically, mentally? How do you handle this and how are you managing that now to allow you to move forward? Because a lot of women deal with this.
Yeah. Um, so one of the best thing I encountered it was actually back in India. I started following this Buddhism philosophy. We call it Nichiren Daishin in Buddhism. It's called Soka Gakkai International. So I've been practicing that, and it's more of like really you polish as a person. So when you talk about anxiety, I know it has really changed over the time. So one of the things really help me because when we talk about anxiety and especially ADHD, because we with ADHD you suffer with one of the things is like worst thing is RSD, which is rejection sensitive dysphoria, and I was like you always get like if your boss tells you like, hey, I want to talk, let's meet, it just kind of like creates that. So really grounding myself, like chanting. So in the Buddhism philosophy I follow, it's more of like an active meditation. So you chant with your eyes open, you look at the mandala, which is nothing but just like the reflection of your own self. So you don't worship anyone. You're basically just polishing your life to really become a better version of yourself, so every day. And it says you have unlimited potential. So it took me time, like obviously I've been like practicing for so many years, so now it has come to that point. I was like, okay, this is okay, I make mistake, or like in any situation, it's like, okay, I have to navigate this, how do I do that? And one of the things I've learned is like, if I'm not able to solve the problem in that moment, you always have to leave that and come back. um, One of the things I really like, I listen to Abraham Hicks too. I don't know if you know, but like I always listen to her. And one of the things she says, like, if you're looking for something, you won't find it. And I have actually tested this theory. It's like something I'm looking for. And then the moment I stop looking for it, I find it. And it's like I'm not even thinking about it, it just shows up. So that is one of the things that's like really helped me. And especially with anxiety, how I start my day, I haven't been good at it right now. Ever since I started working again with Verizon, is I did like there's one of the really amazing yoga teacher I did. He teaches online from India, and it's like every 4 days a week. So that has been like really helping because yoga is just beyond just like workout. It's just like really you sit down and you meditate and you do a lot of breathing exercise, which is really helpful. And that it's not just like, okay, you're releasing the anxiety, that helps you to have that wisdom to get we say in Buddhism, and it's like, okay, you chant not for any magic or anything, it's just for the wisdom to take the right action. And all of these practices, because in anxiety, it's like, oh my god, all I'm operating is from the place of fear. But when I calm down, I can see clearly, and I can actually see that our solution is right in front of me. So these things, like my Buddhism and my yoga practice, and I've been a dancer since I was a kid. So that is something have always helped me to like, okay, I'm going to do something creative and then come back to it. and never take things too personally. The moment you start taking it, take a step back and then come back to it. But it's always like no problem or no work is more important than yourself. That has been my mantra, at least for like this year, which has been like helping.
Wow, that's such a great advice. Let me summarize because you throw so many great
I
ideas here. Love it. So one, you're sharing with us, find a way to ground yourself. And in your case, you do it through your spiritual practice or your Buddhism and those exercise. Find a way to express that physically, like through yoga, so you can get back to yourself. And don't forget that you need to be present in order to move forward. The other thing is allow your self expression through dancing on other things
yeah,
to come to life in order for you to remember that, yes, yeah, you might have this situation, but you can always start from the point of presence and move forward. So you can
yeah,
handle the problems with a more wise approach, right?
yes,
That takes time. That
yeah,
takes practice. So
yeah.
take
That's
the
like
time for that.
yeah, that's perfectly summarized. Yes, and freedom is like expressing is important because, as a quick example, uh, I would usually go jump to anxiety. And recently, something happened that my foster dog bit my neighbor's kid, and we're really friends. And I wanted to go there, but I didn't want to go to the point of anxiety. So somehow I didn't even let myself get anxious, and not even internally, but it showed up in my shoulders, then my stress, migraines, and everything. So when you actually don't even like that, the toxic positivity is like, okay, everything is going to work out. It is going to work out, but you have to process those feelings because if you don't do, it stays in your body. Like it took me like 3 days to recover that. That's why it's like really important. And yeah, I've been to therapy too. I've did it for many years, and that has been like really amazing. And you don't need a reason. Anyone and any person can go to therapy. That's something like especially women should definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way of like healing yourself, allowing your
Yeah.
body and different emotions to process in the ways they need to be processed.
Yes.
And I love that. I love that about that. Would you say, or let me ask you this, because you have achieved so many things, and we're going to tap into different areas too. Let's start here, and then we're going to move to your personal life because I think you're doing such amazing things that people need to know what you're up to, right? But right now, what is something that you're really proud that you have done professionally?
Um, I would say definitely when I started, there are a lot of different places. So first job when I started working with EA, I was in like the most basic, like the most junior role. Mm, But I started working with different games and I was working in on, so basically what you do, like I was a systems admin team, more of like my team's name was Mission Control Center, obviously inspired by Houston's Mission Control Center. Um, so anyway, sorry, I got some message and I got distracted, but sorry, come back to it. So when I started working, for me, I had always thought that, oh, socially I'm awkward. I don't know if I can do that. But when I went there, I actually started with working with different teams. I was onboarding one of the games, which was NFL Madden. I know it's like really famous here. So the architect who was working on that team, he really liked the way I was working, and this was my first time, right? And then he invited me to like, okay, let's do FIFA too, and then start working on onboarding. Couple of my teammates had this idea that, oh, Sonal is getting all the projects, but it was like actually was my manager was not even assigning that. I just got one project, and then um, the way I work, the way I handle everything, and it's not just technically, it's the way I carried myself, like confidence, whatever was happening. I actually, the same architect was working on three different games. He just started working with me on all three different games. And 5 years down the line, he actually vouched for me when I wanted to move to EA Sports FIFA team. He was actually my manager. So that created a lot of huge impact. And even after leaving the company, we still are like, we are close, we talk, we meet on birthdays, but shout out to Brett. He's amazing guy. But I'm really proud of that in terms of why, because 10 years before, or if you would have called me or asked me, I would have like really rescheduled this call. I'm like, I don't know if I can actually do that great. But that job gave me an amazing confidence that you don't have to be like speak like that or speak different way, especially because all of these people in my company, they were obviously they were amazing, they were very accommodating, but all of this, like, you just have to believe in yourself and go and do it. And that kind of really helped like shape my experience in those 5 years. I really built amazing relationships. And then recently, when I joined Verizon, like I am like handling a lot of things on my own, which is initially I didn't know. It's like, okay, my manager is always going to give me. So that's something I always struggle with, like, oh, decision fatigue. Oh, I have to make that decision. But to, like I said, the grounding practice, it was hard initially. I'm like, okay, I cannot freak out. If something happens, or if like even it's not the end of the world, it's not life and death situation. And I've been able to handle those situations really well and not take it personally when it's like anything happens and like your manager can come back and say anything. But these two moments, and like especially now, I'm making decisions every day, almost every day with work of like, okay, if I have to push this code, if this is correct or not, I don't always have my manager to review it. So that has given me so much confidence, which I thought I was like, maybe it'll never come to me in my life. But you just have to give yourself a chance. That's something I would like definitely say. Like always give yourself chance, and it's always starts from believing in yourself. Even when you don't believe in, just start with like small things. Like, okay, I'll believe in myself maybe tomorrow. Yeah.
I love it. So pretty much what you have done is you have taken this fear of, hey, I don't know if I can make this out. And you have made the decision to move forward and try it, regardless the outcome. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. And you have accept the support of your team. And you mentioned this a lot earlier too, on how the team have support you to step in into your power, to gain that confidence by doing it and mastering that step. I mean, or mastering the fact, hey, I know I can fail, but I will do it no matter
Yeah.
what. And that
Yeah.
has created a different kind of confidence, a different kind of performance for you stepping into your power. That's amazing. Leaning in your team, in other
Yeah.
words. Love it.
Yes.
Awesome. That, I mean, that's something to be proud of it, right? How many people can say, I have a great team that support me, but also I
Yeah.
lean them as they lean in me. That's
Yeah.
great. That's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, leaning in, and before we go there, have there be is there a change, or let me rephrase this. What does success mean to you now that it wasn't used to? So now,
So success always meant to me that you're earning this much money. I always compared myself with my peers. A lot of my friends like earning a lot more than I was. Like I started with zero. I never negotiated my salary. For me, success meant having the job title, someone else respecting me was like, "Oh my God, Sonal is doing this," and earning certain amount of money. But definitely, when I was let go in 2024, obviously the security went. I was on visa, so I had to like really navigate all of those things. That changed my perspective a lot in things. Success for me now is like at the end of the day, I want to be happy, and for me, work-life balance is something is very different, right? Some days, I know I keep coming back to that ADHD part because maybe, but the part where it is like some days you're like really productive and you work for 10, 12 hours, and some days you don't. So for me, it's like really coming to that terms and the respect. I struggle with external validation, like I told you, like, but then I really chanted to we say in Buddhism, like when we did Daimoku, like we do Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, which is like I dedicate my life to the law of cause and effect. So it's really important for me to like really not depend on the external validation. And it has completely, like, I want to respect myself. That's my success. At the end of the day, I'm happy. And I have a fulfilling life. That's what I believe in. Because one of the things my friend actually shared yesterday was just amazing. She was talking about relationship, but something is like, um, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's like, I don't want to, she said that I don't want to regret years down the line, that there's so much time we spend not being happy, right? Instead of just like worrying. So those are the things that like have really like really changed me. And one of the things I also do is like worst case scenario, why are we anxious? Because like, oh, what's going to happen? So now what I'm like, I sit down with the worst case scenario. It's like, okay, let's see if this is what happens. Okay, I lose my job, or if I don't anything. For an example, it's like, okay, the one thing I was really scared about losing my job was not anything else, but it was like, okay, what I'm going to do with my dogs? They're dependent on me, and how I'm going to do it. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? I have created that amazing community. Someone will help me, they'll have the dogs, I'll go back home, figure out something. And it's always like there's nothing is impossible that you cannot do as long as you believe in yourself. So I don't know if I answered that question. I know maybe I got the merry-go-round, but that has like definitely changed. Yeah.
Actually, you brought another set of things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go that route. I think there's pretty three important points. There's one of them because I think that having a passion for the job, making a lot of income in today's world, that's what a lot of people define as success.
Yeah.
And what I know is that, and I'm not sure about your situation, but many of the people or women I speak, that they're highly successful, be they professional entrepreneurs, business owners,
Yeah.
they're incredible, they're doing incredible, successful in their career or business. But
Yeah.
that success usually comes with long hours and a lot of
Yeah.
responsibility. And we're going to talk about happiness too. And some
Yeah.
people start thinking, hey, let me think about the future. How
Yeah.
can I keep that level of income high, but not so not
Hmm.
work so hard for it? They start
Yeah.
asking questions like, how do I create more income beyond
Hmm.
the work I do every day? Things like investing, stocks, bonds, real estate, crypto, you name it, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about creating income outside of work that don't require your time?
Actually, that's really important because that's something I've learned. I know, like, I always lived, my salary wasn't that big, like paycheck to paycheck, and all those things. But it's really important. Like when I lost my job, one of the things we like really came up with was like we have to figure out a way to have like multiple sources of income, or like investing. For me, because being on visa, I cannot do multiple jobs or anything. It has to be like really passive earning or like passive income. But those things are really important. And something you don't learn, I still am not good at it. My brother probably knows more. My mom actually tried to like, push me into it. Even she doesn't know much, but when I went to India, but I'm like, no, I cannot spend money on that. But now I was like, okay, I would rather, you know, cut down on something but invest more. So when I go back and look, I was like, oh, I could have done that. But that actually, also kind of lead me to the other thing which I'm actually working on. That's how it came about. It's like, okay, I need to have some other income. I cannot be dependent on that. But it's also open my eyes to my other passion. But that's what I'm like. Those things are really important, especially being a woman. You should always be it's important for everyone. I never say that, one should be m- more stronger in a relationship, but you should always be self-sufficient. That's like really important thing. Whatever happens, even if you're not working, I mean, you can still have some income, like if you're like stay-at-home moms too. So you can start doing those, like you said, investing and get more. And it sounds overwhelming, but start with really small things. So that really helps. Yeah, I had a financial coach. He was like really inexpensive. He's based out of Texas, I think so, but he's amazing. If you got one, my friend shared his contact. He really helps you because I was, out of job and debts, and I was like, what do I do? So he really helped me like figure out how I can navigate through it, and then eventually start saving and doing that. But actually, thank you for bringing that point up. So it's like it's really important. Sometimes we forget, right? Like you're just like hauling your ass, doing. Sorry, pardon my French, but you're doing so much, but then you forget because I mean you don't think about it that you wouldn't have a job the other day. But and the other factors, like we always think about that we have to work hard for money,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be like that. That's the rhetoric I think the corporate world or everyone created. So you don't have to.
Yes, there's so many ways. There's so many
Yeah.
ways. Something that also got my attention from you is that it has evolved to your way of defining success. Yes, income is important. You're doing things in the investing side, but for you has become even more meaningful. Things
Yeah.
that make you happy. And I
Yeah.
know you're working on some things. Let's talk about those things that make you happy, Sonal. You mentioned to me about your mission with your dogs. What's going on in the other side of Sonal with her dogs?
Oh my God. Um, that is something like I'll never shut up about. Apart from that, I know. So my brother has been an animal person since I grew up in India. He would just pick up animals. I mean, in India, there's like street dog or street cat issue. I didn't think I was. I would just be like, why are you bringing them home? And it's funny because anyway, I graduated. My roommate got a job, and she had a foster who I was taking care of because I was in job. And then it's something intrigued me. It's like I know I do talk a lot about philosophical things, but there's like something in me like, okay, I was born to do this thing, right? I got bit by a street dog back in India, but I still was never scared of dogs. I grew up with dogs because my grandmother had dogs, but to be honest, my grandmother, there was another trauma there. My grandmother didn't like me, so her dogs, I was not close to it. But even with like getting bit by two dogs, I was never scared of it. So you know how like you're meant to do that thing. So I started fostering because I'm like I'm not sure if I can adopt them. Slowly, I was like still scared. Then I decided, okay, I want to adopt Millie, and I adopted Millie. And COVID hit. Right, I'm like at home. I still want to do it. And to be honest, a lot of times it came from a place because I compare myself. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that great. Oh, this person is fostering so many dogs, this. And then it's like, okay, it's COVID. I'm home anyway. I have to work from home. I can't go to office, so I can foster. So I started fostering Lucy, my senior. She was 7. Um, and I mean, I didn't want another female. But anyway, I know long story short, then Tucker came in. Tucker had a lot of issues. He had resource guarding. Anyway, long story short, I had to save him from, being put down a few times. And then it decided to eventually adopt him because he was returned again. So I decided, okay, I'm going to work with animals. There's something, and then more and more I look into it. It's actually um, I don't know. I don't want to say way worse because so many people are doing so much, but it's like it's never enough. I feel like that's my calling and I want to work, but I still love technology. And I mean, anyway, and then Tucker suddenly passed away. That kind of like, really shattered me because he was just like doing really fine. He was the most craziest dog. He's the only dog the white one, Millie, got along with. Like they were besties. And we were both were struck. And then it was right around the time I lost my job and I started fostering again. Anyway, that something still gave me happiness, but I was still anxious with so much was going on because I had some contract roles, but then was on bench again, and then with visa and everything, like okay, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, anyway, I was fostering one of the dogs with Jack Stack's Pack. I don't know if you know them, but they're like really amazing street dog rescue they are in Pflugerville, Austin, but they're more of like operate in and around the Austin area. And the way my foster dog turned out to be pregnant, and I'm like, oh my God, I need some help. And few puppies didn't make it, and just kind of was bringing back Tucker's situation. He shared me an idea, and I'm like, okay, I love hardware engineering. And I was like, okay, it's like we really struggle with anyway, so sorry, I'm digressing. I can talk about that later. But this is something like really makes me happy. So apart from this, I consume my lot of my time is consumed with my dogs, and as much as I time I can give them. So that is like something like really gives me happiness. And if I can, even even give back in even in a small way, that would be like like fulfilling my life's mission.
I love it. I mean, having a mission, something beyond your work. It's awesome when your work align with your mission and your passion, and also adding those areas that maybe you love your work, but it might not be super aligned. That's amazing because that complements you. And I love the fact that you can put it together somehow,
Yeah,
and dedicate the time to do so. I
yeah,
think that's the biggest lesson. Dedicate your time to something that you love beyond what
Yeah.
you do. If they
Yeah.
align, great. If they don't align, that's great too. Whichever works for you, right?
Yes.
So we're getting to the end of this, which I'm like, oh my God, I want to ask her so many things.
Yeah.
But I think one, it's important, and especially with your background coming to a new country, being a woman in a male-dominated world still, and going through all the challenges, adaptation, traditional work. So, what conversations do you wish more women were having, but they're not having them yet?
Hmm. It's such mind-boggling, right? I think one of the questions is like, I, I think I still hear that, but I think the idea of doing it all, that you have to do it all, and that's the only way you'll be successful. Um, you don't have to. You can fail, um, and I think anyone can be your ally. Men have been amazing, and I know they've been like, I worked in the gaming industry where it's like really male dominated, and it's like they are misogynist, some people, but I've had amazing manager, so rely on that. Um, One of the things I've learned, I actually wanted to bring that up before, was like really asking for help. I've been sometimes you don't even know like the other person helping you, it can help you the other way. So it's like learning. I always learn something new. But I know it's a difficult like all those things. It's like sometimes asking for help. I have seen people because it they think that it'll make them weak, but no, actually, you don't even know, what are the doors you will open for yourself and for others. And I think like helping each other. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm like, it also kind of like, gave me something to think about. Like, what is something we're not talking about in in women industry? I think we talk a lot, especially I think. Uh, Women of color, like Black women, I've heard like, they are always put down for being loud. But because that's how I'm reading this book, James by, I think Percival, I'm saying his name wrong, Percival Everett. And it's about like, how the story of like what he went through. But sometimes inherently we think that we have to be certain way to be accepted, um, and I know it might be talked about, but it's like no, there's like no one defined way that you go to corporate. It's like okay, that's how you need to behave, and that's how you'll get the answers. Uh, I would say no, be yourself. That's something is we struggle with because we are taught like okay, we have to behave. There's a social etiquette, and I'm not saying go out and be crazy, but at the same time, don't suppress your ideas because that's where your creativity comes from. You just learn to channel it, um, and 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 really important. This stereotype, I am still struggling because I am 37. I'm going to be 38 in 2 months, less than 2 months. But the idea of starting over, it's like, oh, you're 40, you cannot do it. No, you can start over at any time. Even if you're like, okay, I'm on my deathbed, and that's the end of the light. I'm like, no, every day is important, and that is something I have learned. I wanted to share this because this is something I've actually not shared. But the idea I came up with was because I love hardware and AI, and my brother is AI engineer, so I'm working on like I filed a provisional patent for it, but I'm working on a tracking collar for like right now it's for dogs and cats, but eventually for like wildlife rescue too. But it's more like cheaper collar for with the you don't have to pay the subscription fee, and it's especially for rescues. You can create a network with the microcontroller, just like one of the controllers. You program it, and then you make the collar smart that if the dog is lost you can even search for it. It'll tell you how far it has gone, and you don't need any kind of subscription. And when the idea came to me, because it's like all of those things I'm talking about, it's like, oh my God, isn't it too late? And I don't think I can actually do it. And I'm like, you don't need. And one of the things is like, even if you fail, do it. Even if I'm 38, do it. Because I started this last year and I'm finally coming to the point that I have, designed it programmed it, and then I'm going to use that to be able to get my green card. And but that's something is like I filed patent for. Sorry, I lost my chain of thought. That's like my ADHD. I got distracted, Sinki. But that came up with the rescue. This came up because the rescue shared with me. The rescue founder Chaz shared with me that we really want something, but the collars, they're amazing, different colors, but it's like expensive, and then you need like every year subscription and all to work, even for the power or like hardware, and how long the battery runs out and everything. And I thought, I won't be able to do it because it's hardware. And I started comparing myself, like, my friends were working on hardware engineer, I couldn't do it, so how can I do it? And that's like something I had to like really turn around, in terms of like, starting again and then doing that. And I'm so proud of it today that I have finished so much of it. And I have not shared it with, apart from the rescue, no one else knows it, but this is something, yeah, and I'm going to be bringing out, and then, start working on with rescues. But I think this is like really important, the age thing. It's easier said than done. We talk about 40, but I'm like, oh my God, no. But I'm like, I'm going to be 40 so soon. How can I even think about starting again? I am like, my finances are messed up because I was out of job. So anyway, I know I shared a lot of it, but because I didn't know the exact answer for it, I never really thought about it. But that's something I should actually think about now. Thank you so much, Jen. That was
Yeah.
really amazing. Yeah.
And actually, you gave us a lot to think about. And I'm going to summarize that to one, something that you right away express is, hey, learn how to ask for help. A lot of women think that they have to do it all, and they don't focus on asking for help. So that's something we need to talk more about it. How do we ask for help? Second, you also mentioned about being authentic. And I was having this conversation with a few powerful women early on, about this. How is to adopt your own standards without inheritance, not only your parents, your culture, your family, and everything, but how do you own who you are without leaving, someone else's expectations, but your own? And yes, we need some social etiquette, right, to be able to function. But how can we become ourselves? That's something that you say. How do we do more of that? Right.
Yeah.
And that's something women need to talk about too, especially for us having so many expectations from society, putting like you can do it all. You don't have to. It's what do you want to do? And that's something that you mentioned too. The third one, you told us about your project, and behind that message is what you're saying is, how do you combine your skills and align it with your passion, right? In your cases, you're using innovation and all your expertise to something that you're passionate about to create this new thing to help something that will have some impact. And that's something very unique about women. We invest differently we use our money, our resources differently. We don't normally use it to show up. We normally use it because we want to change something in the community. And I don't think we talk enough about that. And you just laid that out. So yes, you can think more, but girl, you gave us a lot.
Thank you so much. I know I talked a lot. I love doing that.
Yes,
but thank you so much.
Yes. And you know what? So now for people who want to connect with you somehow, some way, to projects, to learn more about your journey, what is the best way for them to do that?
I am active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Instagram is not really obviously professional so far yet, but I'll be sharing more. I have to update my LinkedIn because it has to come from the visa point of view. But LinkedIn is like, usually I'm responsive on LinkedIn. So if you reach out to me, I usually respond.
Perfect. Well, Sonal, thank you much for your time, for sharing so openly your journey, your experiences, your challenges, and how you got to where you are today. And I know you will inspire our audience with your life, your journey, and your aspirations too. So thank you again for being with us.
No, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And like, I'm really honored to be here. Thank you so much. And doing this amazing thing, I love the podcast, Catch My Spark. That's something like, it's catchy. I'm going to actually write it down and like, that's like really amazing. I'm like, okay, if I'm mad at someone, I'll be like, Catch My Spark. That's, I love that. I know it's actually really, it's really amazing. So I'm going to use that every day now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado, where bold women lead the way. Ready to share your spark? Apply to be a guest at catchherspark.com/guest.